Governor Abbott puts new pressure on lawmakers as he pushes to restrict bail for people accused of crimes.
There is progress, but not sufficient progress being made with discussions.
The plan calls for constitutional amendments, which has Republicans looking to win over Democrats.
Working across the aisle is good, especially when you can find common ground, but it's also necessary.
The high stakes at the Capitol as key deadlines move closer in the session. Education savings accounts signed into law, and it's already having an impact.
It imposes a burden on a public school to do work for a private school student they're actually not ever going to see.
The growing demand that has advocates worried about added strain on public schools. How do Texans feel about the job our leaders are doing? New insight into how voters view the state's big three and the president.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Governor Greg Abbott made bail reform one of his top priorities this legislative session. He's backing two proposed constitutional amendments. One would require judges to automatically deny bail for people accused of violent crimes. The other would require undocumented immigrants who are accused of a felony to be held without bond. Those proposals cleared the Senate but have stalled in the Texas House. Now, with the end of the session just weeks away, Capitol reporter Adam Schwager shows us how the governor is taking a stronger stance to push bail reform forward.
In a joint press conference with victims of criminals who were out on bond and the author of the Senate and House bail reform efforts, Governor Greg Abbott said that bail reform should go further than what the Senate has already passed.
Judges must automatically deny bail for violent crimes like murder, rape, and human trafficking unless there is clear and convincing evidence that the defendant will appear in court and not endanger the community.
The proposed constitutional amendment, which passed the Senate, gave judges discretion to hold those criminals without bail. But now Abbott says the burden should be on the defendant to show why they're not a threat to the community, rather than the prosecution to show why they are a threat. To do this, Abbott will have to convince 12 House Democrats to join on to a proposed constitutional amendment, votes which Abbott hinted he might not have yet.
There is progress, but not sufficient progress being made with discussions.
Senate Jurisprudence Committee Chair Joan Huffman said,
"We are done negotiating. The governor has laid out perfectly what the bill is going to do."
And House Jurisprudence Chair John Smithy said the bail reform bills will get out of committee this week.
If we don't make a deal, then we're gonna go to battle.
And if Abbott's battle over bail reform isn't won by the time session ends on June 2nd, don't count out a special session.
We'll make decisions like that as they arise.
For State of Texas, I'm Adam Schwager.
For now, the fate of bail reform is in the hands of House lawmakers. One key player is the Texas House Speaker, Dustin Burrows. Our reporting partners in Lubbock spoke with Burrows this week for their Talking Points program. He gave his take on the outlook for bail reform in the House.
You know, when you're talking about bail reform, it requires a change to the Texas Constitution, which means you have to have 2/3 of the Texas House. It cannot be a partisan vote. So if you do not know how to work across the aisle on things like this or other things in general, you can't get it done. So we're going to continue to work this session and make sure that violent criminals don't get out to do more violent crimes. I'm very hopeful that we can find some common ground and work towards bringing a solution for all Texans.
So what do Texas voters think? A new poll from the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas is giving us some insight. The poll asked voters how important it is for the legislature to limit the ability of judges to release people accused of serious crimes on bail. More than half said it was either very or extremely important. Just 5% said it was not important at all. The poll also looked at approval ratings for key state leaders. Texas voters appear split over Governor Abbott's leadership. 44% approve of the job he's doing, 43% disapprove. The opinions fell largely along party lines. The poll showed a similar partisan divide when it comes to opinions about Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. 36% of voters polled approved his job performance, and 36% disapproved. 19% were neutral. The rest of the people polled said they don't know about Patrick. Approval ratings for Speaker Dustin Burrows are below Abbott's and Patrick's numbers, but a large number of Texans just don't know anything about him. The poll found 18% of voters approve of Burrows' job performance, while 28% said they disapprove. The poll found 27% were neutral on the speaker, which is the same percentage of those who said they did not know about Burrows. The Texas Politics Project also asked how Texans feel about President Trump in his second term. The results show Texans are split over his performance overall. 47% approve, which is down 5 points from February. 46% either somewhat or strongly disapprove. That's an 8% jump since a February poll. The poll also asked about specific aspects of Trump's job performance. More than half of Texas voters approve of how the president has handled immigration and border security. Just under 40% of those polled disapprove. When it comes to inflation and prices, just over a third of Texans approve of how President Trump is handling things, and nearly half disapprove. We spoke with Texas Politics Project Director James Henson about the results.
He's doing well on one signature issue of his, immigration and the border, but not as well on something that in his last term was his signature issue, which was, I'm a good businessman, I can manage the economy. A little less in evidence now.
Despite the dip in approval over inflation and prices, the poll found Texas Republicans remain highly supportive of Trump's policies. The new law to create education savings accounts is already having an impact. We look at the growing demand from parents that's raising worries about added strain on public schools. More attention comes from one form of green energy that's finding strong red state support, and it could help strengthen the Texas power grid. A Texas mom and her daughter fight to take down explicit deepfake images shared on social media. How they teamed up with a senator on a new law to help victims.